Oh my god, the host just triple sapped me.
Do you see who's food running tonight?
56 was just sitting there making out the entire time I was trying to take
Why do we have
orders.
so many servers on the floor? Did you hear about 73?
This is a work of fiction. Any similarity to actual persons, living or dead, or actual events, is purely coincidental.
I have one good story, and then I have one thing written down here that I don't understand what I meant by.
I love that for you.
And I'm like, fucking give more detail, Bunny. Like, what?
You don't, though. You just put random shit in
Because if you see it, I don't want you to know what the story is. You know, like if I spell it all out, like that one time with Table 31 when they did XYZ, then you're going to like, if you were to see it, you'd be like, oh, that happened? You know?
Yeah.
So I very cryptic on this one.
Welcome back to Rolling Silverware. I'm Kat.
I'm Bunny.
This is our post-shift shit talk. And we're gonna talk a little bit of shit, because I heard this morning, working on shift, one of the hosts was telling me that we were talking about Pinky, and I was saying, look, he's a sweet guy, right? He's very nice. He's a cute kid, but god damn it, he is perpetually lost. Like,
he does not understand like the seating cycle or rotation or
table numbers or like anything. Like, he's just perpetually lost at his job.
Yeah, and he's been there a while now. That the questions that come out, I'm still like, really?
Too
like,
long.
Hey, is it possibly okay if you were the closer with 0 tables right now? Would you possibly be able to take that table 1 table away from your section?
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. I think I can handle that.
Yeah. Apparently, the other day there was a retirement party of 10 sitting in the private dining area, and they brought in like a cake, and he's holding it, and the manager walks up to him and says, "Oh, who's gonna get that?" About the party, right? Who's
taking that?
Who's gonna get that? And he goes, "I don't know, probably the guy retiring, because it's his cake."
Honestly, solid answer. Solid fucking answer. I like that a lot. That's great.
The hostess is saying this story to me, and Fabulous Host is also on, and I look at her and I say, I have to leave. I have to
go. What a smart ass answer though. Like, maybe he didn't know, maybe he really didn't know, and that's where his brain went, but also like, fucking top. Like, that's great. That's such an amazing response. Hey, where's that going? Probably to the guy who it's for. What? Idiot. Who else? It's not my cake. This 8-pound sheet cake I brought in.
You 100% thought that she was talking about the cake that he's holding. He's just like, I don't know, probably the guy retiring, dumbass.
So sweet.
Oh, what a bean. Yeah, that made me laugh so hard when she told me that. I was just like, I have to go. I can't be a part of this conversation anymore. This is too much.
The server manager comes up to me because it's Pinky, and then the newest. We have a new host. We'll call him Surfer Boy.
Yes.
I just think Surfer Boy fits him very well.
He's very Beach Boys.
Beach Boys, very charismatic. He's funny too. Like, he's on it with the guests. He's
too charismatic, I'm gonna be honest.
He's walking guests to the table and he's like, "Hey, how's it going? Are we celebrating anything tonight?" No, you're just coming in. Hey, that's cool too. I love coming in here. Like, I heard him say that multiple times to multiple people, and I'm like, yeah, man, get it. Like, he's very nice. He's very kind. He sees me. He very flattering to me. Like, thank you so much. Like, he's like, "Oh yeah, I've heard all about you. You're great at your job." And I'm like,
whoa,
thank you so much. Who's talking about me?
Like, I get none of that. So what the fuck, host?
Well, like I told you, I didn't even talk to him for a couple of days because we spoke about it the other day, and everybody's like, "Oh, what do you think of him?" And I was like, in the 1 second I've spoken to him, he seems amazing. Like, great guy, stand-up guy.
Yeah.
He has said that's your table to me. Like, that's at that point. But now we've had more than that conversation. But yeah, he's great. But anyway, so it was him and Pinky, and he was on his last day of training.
With Pinky?
No.
Oh,
sorry.
I was going to say that was a bad idea.
He was first day out of training.
Got it.
So it's Surfer Boy, brand new, first day out of training, and Pinky. And server manager comes up to me, and he goes, yeah, so how do I, like, casually tell him, if you have any questions at all, come find me.
Yeah.
Do not ask Pinky anything. Don't ask his opinion. Don't ask how he thinks it's run. Don't ask him anything at all. Don't.
Yeah, you at this point probably know more than he does. I'm going to be honest.
Right. There's a good chance that you probably already have surpassed him in knowledge. And so, but I just laughed about it. Yeah, and then so, it's like our long-standing host with all the attitude, she sees Pinky putting bags, the small bags, in the host stand. but they're not stamped, which I don't know the rules of the host stand, whether you only put stamped bags under there or whatever, because we stamp them with our logo, right? It's really cute.
I have seen them holding small bags until they can get around to doing that side work of stamping it. I
Right,
have
well,
seen them holding it in the host stand, but
I guess
don't
all
know.
he does is put them in there.
And then doesn't stamp them?
Right. And so she calls him out. This is in front of me. I'm writing out the side work for the day. And she goes, oh, so you're the one that's just putting them down there non-stamped. And he goes, I stamp them sometimes.
Oh.
And there's a long pause. Like, I stamp them sometimes. And we both start laughing because we're like, no, you don't. Like, you just answered that entirely. No, you don't.
Yeah,
you don't stamp
can't
those.
do that. Have to do your side work. Something that happened within the last couple of weeks. Do you remember a gentleman that comes in, wears a suit, but if you look a little bit closely, it's a little bit tattered, a little bit old, gets a double vodka and a spiny lobster. He gets 2 double vodkas while he sits there at the bar.
At the bar top?
Kind of giggles to himself a little bit, laughs, gets a spiny lobster, and then asks for one more thing. I don't know. Do I want a dessert? Do I want this?
Yeah,
Do I want
chocolate
that?
cake, maybe, specifically?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you know who I'm talking about.
Exactly who you're talking about.
Struck again, bitch.
God damn it.
Yep, on I almost said her name. On Southern Peach. But he was sitting at a table, which was odd. And apparently not wearing the suit, wearing just like normal clothes. But
He's learning.
he's learning. So she was telling me the story. She was like, yeah, this guy walked out on me.
Ah.
Which we should verify for the listeners. This guy has walked out on multiple bartenders.
Yes, he normally sits at the bar top, orders these exact things.
Yep, he walked
and
out on
then-
me.
Yeah,
He
he
walked
walked
out-
out on one of the other bartenders and somebody else, I think, even
A
after
different
that.
bartender. No, I think it was a year before.
Right.
He walked out on somebody, and then he walked out on our old friend who was a bartender, who
Yeah.
we don't talk to anymore, and then he walked out on me a little bit after that.
Yes.
And then that point in time, we had a manager who, wild, decided to chase him down through the parking lot and be like, sir, you have to pay your bill. And the guy was like, oh, it's just in my car. And so the manager follows him through the parking lot like, okay, where's your car? Let's go to it. And then he was like, oh, I'm so silly. I parked it in the hotel. I left it in the hotel that I'm staying at. It's right across the street. Walked into the hotel, and the manager followed him into the hotel that is across the, like, stood at a crosswalk with him, just like, so how's your weekend going? And then walked into this hotel with the guy. The minute they walked through the doors, the guy goes, help, this guy's following me and I don't know who he is.
What?
So,
I
hotel-
never
You didn't
heard
know
this
that
story. You shut the
Yes.
fuck up. Oh, shit.
Yes. So,
Damn, balls on the average white boy.
right. So just confidence of a mediocre white man.
Just, no, I'm getting my money that
Right.
isn't mine
Isn't
and doesn't
mine.
belong to me
doesn't
at all.
affect him even.
And nobody cares if I comp this as a walk.
No. But it was like a $160 tab.
Sure, of course.
So he followed the guy into the hotel. The guy screams, this guy's following me. I don't know who he is. Hotel management obviously immediately steps in and starts like holding back the old manager. And the old manager
Oh
was
my
like,
God.
yeah, the old manager was like, no, I'm a manager at this restaurant. He just ate at my restaurant and he's walking out on the bill. He told me that he's staying here. And so hotel management eventually lets him go. She's like, oh, we're so sorry. And he had slipped out the back and started booking it
Oh my
down the main
God.
street that we work on. So that's what happened when he walked out on me.
That's insane. I've never known that part of the story, and that was years ago. And
Yeah.
I'm
I'll never
little
forget it.
offended that I did not get that tidbit. I absolutely got the part where he walked out on you. I remember that clear as day
I don't think we were hanging out that much.
because it was the chocolate cake that you went to go get for him.
Yes.
That's why I was like, oh, chocolate cake.
Mm-hmm.
That's fucking wild.
Yeah, so Southern Peach was telling me, yeah, I had this guy come in and he ordered 2 double vodkas, and then I think he got, maybe it was a regular lobster or it was a crab. Either way, it was one of the in tank items,
Right.
right? It was a lot of money. And then she goes, yeah, and then he just walked out. He just walked out the bar door.
Yep.
And but funny enough, the manager, before she came up to tell me about it, he told me, he was like, yeah, some guy just walked out. And I was like, oh, that sucks. And he goes, yeah, so he had two doubles. I think it was like vodka or something. And I was like, oh, and a spiny? And he looks at me and I goes, let me guess. He ordered like a little dessert for himself. And the minute she left the bar, he walked out. And he goes, what is happening? And I was like, that's the same guy that's walked out on me and 2 other bartenders. And again, we have all new management from the last time that
Yeah.
happened, because it has been years since he's been in.
He realized that, well,
He
yeah,
couldn't
after
get-
that
yeah,
incident,
exactly.
you're not getting away with that
Yeah,
soon.
I'm pretty sure it was server manager I was talking to about it, and I was telling him, like, yeah, this guy has serially come in
Jesus.
and run out on his tab, and he always gets the same thing. It's the double vodkas, but his demeanor is so odd because he'll sit there and like giggle to himself like he's getting away with something. After he leaves and you realize what's happening, you understand more. But when you don't know what's happening,
I would have no idea.
It's just some weirdo sitting at the bar, giggling to himself and speaking to himself under his breath, eating his food and having 2 double vodkas. And you're like, did I overserve him? Thinking like, but you only served him 2. So, and when he sat down, he didn't feel like super drunk. So you're very confused as to like, does he just not hold alcohol very well? And you know what I mean? You don't really understand. And the minute you leave, you're like, oh my God, he was sitting there laughing the whole time about how he's going to get away with this.
Oh my God.
And he does every time. And he struck again, that bitch.
Struck again.
Yeah. Oh, but this time again, not wearing the suit. He was just wearing like normal clothes. But it's the order. And I told Southern Peach, I was like, he's done it to me. He did it to 2 other bartenders. He does it all. He's going to come back in like 3 to 6 months.
Right.
So tell the other bartenders what he orders.
Right.
Because
and as soon as you get that double vodka, notify a manager.
Yeah.
A guy sitting by himself ordering that double vodka.
Mm-hmm.
Is it like vodka and soda or just?
No, it's Tito's. Double Tito's.
Okay, yeah. So as soon as you hear that order come through, let's notify somebody immediately.
Mm-hmm. And funny enough, he started sitting at the table, and I'm wondering if it's because after he walked out on me, they made it a rule behind the bar that if someone were to sit at the bar, a single person sits at the bar, you get a card.
Right.
That's not really something that we do. We don't hold tabs for people at the bar. If you're sitting down and you're eating, you don't pay until the end. However, after he walked out on me, they started to make it a rule. You get a credit card immediately.
Right.
If a single person sits at the bar. If 2 couples, if it's a couple sitting at the bar or whatever, don't. But if one person sits down at the bar, you say, yeah, absolutely, I can get that started for you. Do you have a card I can hold that tab on?
Right.
And you do it in a way that every other bar does. So
I've had that happen so many times where it's like, yeah, can I get a card for that? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And then you can pay out in cash however you want to close it out is fine, but I need to hang on to this.
Yes. So the wording was very much how every other bar does it. So it wouldn't be weird or, you know what I mean? Like come across as like kind of odd. And if, somebody sits directly next to them while they're still eating, even if it's a couple, maybe grab a card for them too, so that it doesn't feel like we singled you out because you look shady. Yeah. So it was definitely up to like bartender's discretion of like, how you're going to do that. But that fell away eventually because that guy hadn't come back, or maybe he did come back. We asked for a card and he said, never mind. And then a couple years later decided to come in and sit at a table.
Damn.
I wonder, because he didn't sit with me again. There's no fucking way.
I would never think to ask a person sitting at a table if I could get their card.
No, why would that be wild?
Yeah. Jesus. I only had one, so I haven't had anybody, no, I had that couple walk out that one time, but then they came back to pay because they were fighting.
Oh.
And so they didn't even get their dinner because they left mid-appetizer because of a huge fight that broke out at the table.
Oh,
it was so awkward. But then the guy did come back and pay, like later that night, like 3 hours later, he came back, he paid and tipped. Okay. So, cool. Thank you. Like we reopened the check and found what they did eat and just charged them for that. But when I was bartending, I had a guy come in and he's like, yeah, my wife's at the shops shopping. Yeah, he's like, I got her gift cards for Christmas. She's over there. And I'm like, okay, yeah. So he had 3 drinks with me and then he had an appetizer. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, oh, my wife she's on the other side. My wife has my wallet, like with the cards in it. And I go, great. But he's talking to me. So I'm like, okay. And he's like, is there any way? He's like, the only thing I currently have on me is my driver's license. He's like, because I dropped her off. And I kept my driver's license, like, because he drove around or whatever. Yeah. And he's like, will you hold my driver's license? And it's like, I promise she will come back. And I took it from him and then went and told the managers. I was like, because I can't leave. Like, I took something from him,
Yeah. That's also more something I don't know if I would have taken anything from him. I would have been like, let me go grab a manager.
Well, and that's what I said. I had told him, I was like, I do need to get a manager involved. Mm-hmm. But he insisted that I take his license, which was an active license. It wasn't expired.
Right.
So, like, if you're out this license, that's a process, Like, you at least have to go through that and wait that amount of time to get your
$35 process versus the...
Right, but also several weeks. You're not going to have a license for a couple weeks,
That's
and
true.
he seemed nice enough, Like, he was a nice enough guy while he was there. So, I let the managers know, and then he didn't leave until the manager came back. It's not like he ran out the door. But then he went and picked up his wife and came back. I think it was like 45 minutes later. So I'm sitting here thinking, well, now we have a driver's license, I guess. Like, I don't know how much this helps me. But he did come back, and his wife came to me, and she goes, hi, I'm that guy's wife with the driver's license. Here's his card. Can we pay that tab? And I go, yeah. She's like, can we also sit down and start a new tab? And I was like, you can just stay on that same tab. And she goes, cool, here's that card. and handed me the card right then and there. So that sat on the terminal. But he comes in, he's like, see, I wasn't lying. This is my wife. Like, he hit the bathroom first or whatever. And I was like, I only half thought you were lying. I was only fairly certain that you were never going to come back. Like, but that's the only time anything like that has even happened to me at this restaurant.
Yeah.
You know?
I'll never forget when I first started serving. Oh God, this was so long ago. I was at Black Angus, and it was technically my first serving job, because my first restaurant job, I was a host, and then I was a lead host in to-goes and stuff, and then they weren't moving me up to server.
Same.
So I just put out applications saying that I had served at that restaurant for, a year or whatever. Yeah, and I was like, yeah, I've been a server there forever, and Black Angus was like, you're hired. And so that was my first serving job, and at that time, Black Angus was open on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah.
And they had a Thanksgiving meal.
Yeah,
Like, it was like
they still
turkey and mashed potatoes and stuff. Oh, okay.
I was like, they didn't stop that. They're a big Thanksgiving restaurant.
That's interesting. I didn't know if they had stopped it or if they kept going, just because now they're not even open during, like, lunch, a lot of the restaurants anyways. So I was just...
As of when I left, and even 2 years later when I went for Thanksgiving, still a Thanksgiving restaurant.
So I had two people come in, and they were like an older, I would say at the time, maybe 60s.
Okay.
Right? They come in, sit down, eat their Thanksgiving meal, which was like a 3-course meal. It was a huge meal. And then they go to get up, and I was like, oh, here's your check. And the guy goes, oh, your manager said that he was going to pay this for us. And I was like, I'm sorry? And he goes, yeah, your management said that, this was on him. Like, you need to go talk to your manager. Fell for it. Hook,
Which manager?
line, and sinker. Absolutely fucking fell for it. Because, again, I am 18 and a half, 19. Like, I'm very young, very new to serving. And I walk up to the manager, and I was like, yeah, this table said that you were going to take care of his meal. And he was like, you fucking idiot. And he runs out to the fucking parking lot, and the minute he goes out the door, they're like halfway into the parking lot at this point. They turn around, see him, and book it to their car.
Shit.
And so he's like, fuck it, we're out of this Thanksgiving meal. And he looked at me, he was like, don't ever assume that again. And I was like, okay, but I would have had to have grabbed you either way.
Right, how am I going to stand here and flag somebody else down and be like, by the way, I need help over here?
Yeah,
like,
at the end of the day, I would have had to have walked away from him at some point.
Yeah.
I'm not security. I'm a 19-year-old girl. There's no
now,
fucking way.
14 years later, I might make a scene. I might be like, no, I'll stay right here with you. Hey!
Yeah, fair.
Start fucking
That's fair.
screaming for somebody to come over if you're going to give me some bullshit excuse.
But then at the end, they're not tipping you regardless. So, you know what I mean? It's like...
Right. Also, again, not my money. So...
Yeah, it's not my money. It's not my problem.
Right.
Like, I think my CEO is going to be all right at the end of the day. I don't want people to walk out, but I'm
most
not
places are
anybody.
trained, like, yeah, you try to stop people from walking out, but if they go, like, they go. Like,
yeah.
There's nothing else done about it, you know?
Yeah, there's no way in hell. What am I going to do?
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm not a security
Stop
guard.
two elderly people from leaving.
I'm not a fucking bouncer. I'm a server. Bye. Like, enjoy. I hope you enjoyed your meal.
Yeah.
Come back when you have some money. I don't know what the fuck to tell you. Like, but yeah, that stuck with me so harsh that it has literally been 20 years, and I still
so
think about that sometimes. Where I'm like, but yeah, that was really stupid to just be like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense to me.
I mean, I don't know.
Oh, I had this guest today that I wanted to talk about, which I just thought it was so cute, and it gave me such inspiration. This guy came in, solo guy, he wants a quiet space, like, to himself, kind of outside of view of everybody. So he sits outside of my section, but I go to take him. And he is dressed fantastically. This man is so done up. I walk up and he goes, oh my God, it's so great to see you again. I haven't been here in so long, but it is so nice to be back. Da, da, da. And I'm thinking, I've never seen you before. But
I have no idea who you are.
It's great to see you again too, sir. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, thinking he must have been a regular before, and he just assumes that he knows everybody that works there. Not,
Sure.
You know what I mean? I personally don't remember taking care of him, but whatever. But he orders some drinks, orders some food, and the minute his food drops, he goes, I'm so sorry. Can you take a picture of me? Just him. Solo in the booth. And I was like, yeah, of course. And I go to take this picture, and he goes, make sure to get the shoes. And he starts, like, posing so that... I'm sitting here thinking...
a fit check in the booth?
A fit check in the booth. This man is 45, 50. And
Good.
he is so fabulous. And I could not understand the confidence. Like, I don't think I could ever do that. just
Not
ask
me,
a random
myself.
stranger when I'm by myself in a restaurant to be like, hey, can you just take a quick pic of me? And so I take a couple pictures, and then a little bit of time goes by, and I walk up to get my 2-bite check, and he goes, yeah, but I see him looking at the pictures, and I was like, were those good, or do you want me to take some more? And he goes, if you don't mind, I swear, please. Absolutely. He pulls out a pair of sunglasses. He puts on some sunglasses. At this point, I look at him, I go, what's your angle, baby? Is it up top, down below? Which side's good for you? And he goes, this side from up top. I'm like, perfect. And now I'm like,
I'm climbing on the booth.
I'm literally like, tilt your head a little bit more to the left. I got you. Like, I'm directing him at this point. I'm work it, baby. I'm screaming. Like,
I am posing this teenage girly of a man and telling him.
Loved this interaction so fucking much. I had other servers kind of like go to walk by me and then decide to go another way because I'm taking up all my aisle space. Like, no, get out of my way. I got to make sure this man has a good picture for his Insta. Like, I'm all over it, and I'm telling him how to pose, and I'm doing this, and I'm up, and I'm doing all these different angles, and I'm like, I'm gonna get you from the side here. Just give me a little like look off into the distance, and he's doing everything right. He's looking great in these photos. I'm like, I'm gonna bring down the exposure for a little bit. Like, it looked great, baby. I know my pictures.
Cat the weekend photographer.
And it was just so fun. And everyone's looking at me like, our coworkers are looking at me like, what the fuck are you doing? And that was the best interaction
I'm doing
I had
a photo
all day.
shoot now. That's my job.
That was the most fun interaction I had all day. And I thought, wow, that is so ballsy to just ask a stranger like, hey, can you take a picture of me? And let's fucking do this right now.
Can you take so many photos of me?
Yeah. And then to ask me again, I was like, fuck yeah, dog. I had such a great time. And
That's great.
It literally made me feel like I should be more open about just like filming whenever the fuck I want and taking pictures whenever the fuck I want. Like, who cares what other people think?
That's true.
Like, these are my memories at the end of the day. Like, I want to make memories for myself. And if I look back on, say, 2024, and I'm looking through photos and live photos and videos, there's some, but there's not.
There's not many of me. There's a lot of the things I did.
Yeah, there's a lot of, landscapes, places that I went.
Right.
Which wasn't many places, but there's a lot of my kid, right?
Sure.
And there's a lot of
Your cats.
my cats. But there's
so many cats in mine.
So many. But there's none of me and my cats.
Right.
There's none of me and my son. There's none of me and my friends.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it was always like, oh, I don't really want to, I don't know. I just still have that stigma of like, I don't want to take pictures in public and have someone look at me and be like, what a loser. But honestly,
but so what? Yeah.
Everybody's taking pictures in public right now. Like, it is such a normal thing now to pull out your phone and take pictures and do your little boomerangs and take your selfies and do your little videos. Like, it's so normalized now, but I still hold that stigma in my heart that I'm like, that interaction with that guy while I was at work today inspired me to just be like, fuck it, who cares what people think?
That's great.
Like, I'm gonna make my memories because they're for me anyways. They're not for these random people walking by that don't know me.
True.
Hell,
that I'm never gonna see again.
they're not for people that do know me. My coworkers today, I'm doing some stuff and they're like, what's going on? I was like, I'm taking a video. Get the fuck out. And they're like, oh shit, my bad. Fuck you. Right. And then they know me. And I'm still like, I'm videoing myself. How dare you? Get out of my way. Like,
that's great.
I loved it. And I had a great time. I don't know. I thought that was such a fun interaction that I don't have very often. And
that's so nice.
I thought it was great.
I have a slightly less fun interaction to talk about.
I hate that for you. I'm sorry.
Also something that's never happened to me before in my fucking career.
Why does this keep happening to you? I feel like season 2 has been nothing but bunnies
wild
experiences
cards
that have never happened.
People are really pulling out their fucking wild cards for 2025. I worked the morning on Saturday, and I was actually working a double, but for the morning shift, it was calm enough, and we got a little pop, and that was great, but 2 of our other servers were just coming back from the couple, Paranorman and his girlfriend, were just coming back from being sick the last few days. So
yeah, they put out a bunch of shifts recently. Like, they put them up on the scheduling app,
So his girlfriend was like, oh, like, is there anybody else that can take that party at 10? Like, I'm just not feeling 100%, and I don't want to, like, skip on any service at all, like, I'm fine with, like, the 2 and 3 tops. And it's like, I've had those days, absolutely, where I don't want to interact with a whole group of people, but I can interact with, like, fewer people at a time, And so I looked around the restaurant, I said, what time is it coming in? They said 2. I said, yeah, that's mine. Like, I'll take it. I need the money. That's what I'm here on the double for anyways. I might as well crank it out. So they show up. It's a birthday party for one guy, and there's a note on we get those little like guest notes now
The
that
little
tell you
chits,
about
yeah,
the
from the host.
reservation. And so it says the only thing in the thing, like in the description, it says Linda's paying.
Oh.
And so the host, Pinky, hands me just the chit. No like paper.
No paper that we
no
write
paper
the
to
orders
write
on?
the order on. He hands me just the chit. And I go, "Oh, cool. Who's Linda?" And he goes, "I don't know." And I go, "Great."
Fucking Pinky, come on, man, get
Great.
it together.
I also don't know, because did she check in for the reservation? You didn't clock that? You weren't like, "Oh, you must be Linda. You're here for Linda's fucking reservation." I don't know. So he goes, "I don't know." I go, "Great. There's 8 people in there. 4 of them are women. I've got a 1 in 4 chance of getting this right. I hope." So I go, "Oh, you know what else I need? I need a piece of paper to write on." And he goes, "Oh, yeah, okay." So I go and get a paper from the front, to which he takes the little chip from me and staples it to it. And I looked at him, I go, it's too late, dog.
It's too late now.
It's too
You
late for
fucked
this. But anyways, so I go into the party. "Hey guys, how's it going?" "Oh, we're only going to be 8. We're actually not going to be 10. I said, "That's great." I said, "I'll sit down. I'll be your 9th. And they go, "Oh my God, please, we brought a bottle of wine."
Oh,
And
that's
I was
cute.
like, "Of course, absolutely. I'll have some of that. Let me pop that open for you. How many glasses do we need?" I'm going over who wants drinks from the bar. Does anybody want anything else to drink? We got a couple Diet Cokes. This woman speaks up. She's like, "I want an iced tea." "Okay. Do you have any flavored?" "I do. I have the passion fruit." "Is it sweetened?" "It is not," if you let me finish speaking. But she won't.
Yeah, I have a whole spiel if you
I
shut the fuck
really
up.
do, and it's very short, but I've got it, and I say it to every table that
sentences.
orders an iced tea. But anyways, so I go, "It's not." She goes, "Okay, great. I don't want any sweetener, but I need my water, and I need the flavored iced tea, and then I also need a glass of ice." And
Okay,
I said,
you hobbit. Oh my God.
and so I go, "Fantastic. By the way, who's Linda?" And she goes, "I am. Couldn't you tell?" And I was like,
At this point, yes.
"Yeah, right." And her friend looks at me and she goes, "Yeah, that's Linda." And I was just like, "Great, I love this." So I go and I get everything started and I come back. And so I already know, now I see like who she is. I know that she's paying. And so it's her husband's 70th birthday party. There's like birthday napkins down. They say 70 on them, right? Whatever. So I get,
Cute.
they're doing drinks from the bar. They're doing oysters. Like, this bill's racking up already. And I'm very excited about it. They're a very nice group of people. Like, everyone is very nice. Some of them are cracking jokes at me. I'm like, okay, cool. And then about halfway through their meal, Linda walks out. And she comes and finds me and she goes, "Hey, can I pay for that bill?" And she's like, "They're going to be mad at me, but I want to pay." I go, "Absolutely." So I run her over to the terminal, show her. She's like, "What are we at?" I said, "You're at $4.95. And she goes, "Okay, great." So she hands me her card. I swipe her card. And then she goes, "Okay, so I want to pay, but I really don't want to have to tip too, so I'm going to let them tip."
What?
And I go, "Oh, okay." And she goes, "Yeah, so if they order anything else from here on out, just put it on a separate tab, and then we can have them tip like for the whole amount on that tab." I go, "Okay." And then she goes, "Yeah, will you let them know?" And then
No.
right, and then she walks off to the bathroom, and I'm like, "No, Linda, like,
Listen, Linda.
I ain't pulling that fucking shit. What? Will you let them know that you stiffed me on a fucking what?"
That's wild.
No. So Linda gets back from the bathroom and she sits down. So I come and I clear some plates. I get some boxes, food boxed up for the people, right? And then I come back, I clear some more plates, and then it's the end and people are getting ready to leave. Like, a couple women have grabbed their purses, So I'm like, okay, I'm running out of time for Linda to speak up on this topic. So I'm like, "Hey guys, so I did just want to let you know that Linda has paid for your bill today." And they're all like, "Oh, Linda, no, you can't do that." And she's like, "It's my husband's 70th. I couldn't just not pay." And it's like, she's like, "I got you all together. I had to pay." And then she looks at me. And I look at her. And she looks at me.
Just a little standoff.
Just a little fucking silent standoff in like 5 seconds. And it's like, that like, I looked at him. And he looked at me. And I looked at him. And I'm just looking at her. And I'm like, ah. So I go, "But she didn't want to cover the tip as well?" And I just shrug, and I go, "So if you guys are so inclined and would like to do that, I can run a card for a 0 amount, or however you guys want to work it out. Thank you so much."
That's so embarrassing.
So which at that point, Linda speaks up and says, "I was just hoping that you guys, like, not the birthday boy, obviously, but that like you guys could help pitch in for," and they're like, "Oh my God, of course, absolutely." One woman immediately has her card out and she's like, "Can you run this? Can you, I'll charge me for a soda. Absolutely, we're tipping you." And like, cause we had a great time, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, yeah, no, I don't have to charge you for anything. I can literally just run a card for $0 and then you can tip on that however you guys want to do it. And they go, okay, well, give us because now 2 girls are fighting over who's going to put the tip on their card or whatever.
You can run both of the cards for a 0 amount.
Exactly, which I was going to say, but then I was holding a bunch of plates still. So I was like, I'm going to go get rid of these plates. They're obviously not leaving without tipping me.
Right.
So I come back and there is $120 on the table. In cash.
Okay.
And so the guy at the end of the table hands it. He goes, that's for you. Thank you so much for everything. Like, you've been fantastic. And then Linda goes, wait. Put it in this. Put it in this. And she like shoves papers at me, to which every part of my being is like, oh, Jesus papers. Like, these are Catholic papers or Christian papers, you know, like, you know, the ones, right? Like you're giving me a pamphlet. I don't even look at them. I just go, thank you so much. You guys have been fantastic. Have a wonderful day. Happy birthday to her husband, right? To which another guy chimes in. He goes, well, we're actually celebrating 5 birthdays today. And I went, you are? Well, happy birthday to everybody. And then they're like, oh my God, thank you so much. I go, mine's the 30th. And they're like, well, happy early birthday to you. And I was like, oh my God, look at all of us. And then I was like, fucking whatever. So I leave. And then I go in the back. And I don't have it on me because I don't have my little book on me, but I wanted to show you. So it's a folded over piece of paper, and on both sides it says, you're amazing, always remember that. Like a printed, like, note card paper or something, right? So on both sides it says that.
Thank you card?
Kind of, but like just one sheet of paper that has been like folded over.
Okay.
And on both sides it says, you're amazing, always remember that. And I'm like, thank you. I am.
You're like, yeah, I know, bitch.
Right?
Linda.
Thank you, Linda. And then I pull out, and it's this, in the year 1955, these are the things that was going on. It's like a little snippet that you can get from, like, have you ever seen these where it's like what movies were playing that year?
Yeah,
and, like,
but I don't think I've ever seen them on a card.
No, it's not a card. It's just a sheet of paper. This is a separate sheet of paper.
I've never seen it, like, printed out. I've seen that shit as, like, a meme on,
I've seen it for, like, 50-year-old parties or whatever. Like, it's a, you know, here's what was happening in the world 50 years ago, you know? And so it's like these little snippets. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And I flip it over, and handwritten on it, she had, like, written down, thank you for making my husband's 70th birthday party special and memorable. And I was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, you're welcome. But also, you're not welcome, Linda.
Yeah, I was going to say, look, that's nice, and I like the sentiment, but that doesn't pay my rent. You cheap bitch. Like, you're not cheap and cheap all at the same time. You covered everyone's bill.
You want to cover the bill, but then you want, and it's like,
and
when
then
she said,
you say it.
When she said, will you let them know? I thought, let them know, like, at first I thought you're joking. That was my first thought. I go, you're joking. But then when I realized she wasn't going to say anything to the table, I was like, oh, so you just want me to let them know that you paid. And then you're going to chime in and be like, I didn't tip, though.
Right.
That's on you, bitch. That's on you. Don't make me stand here and be like,
and beg for money.
If you want to tip me, I would enjoy that, as that's how I pay for my child's, you know, everything.
Yeah.
And my whole life. Please, Linda. What the fuck?
Linda.
Listen, Linda, that was fucking not cool.
Yes, uncalled for.
Earlier in our interaction, something Linda had said out loud to me and to her friends, because her friend said, how are you doing, to me? And then I said, how are you guys doing? And Linda had responded with, oh my gosh, I'm great. Everything's good. She go, all good in the hood, is what she had said. And
70-year-old Linda.
And it's a very white Linda. And I giggle my way out of the private dining room, right? I'm like, haha, what a silly old lady. To which I immediately tell, what a silly old lady. And now I know that her name's Linda, right, at that point.
Yeah.
But I tell server manager, I go, oh, I just want to let you know what Linda just said. She said, all good in the hood. And he goes, okay, Linda. And then we walk away, right? So then later I tell him, I go, that was so fucking awkward. And he goes, what was? And then we're both very busy for like 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. So then he comes back. He goes, what was so awkward? I'm dying to know.
I've been thinking about it.
Yeah. So I tell him all about the tip situation. And he looks at me, he goes, so not all good in the hood, Linda. Very much not good in the hood, sweetheart. So yeah, but that was just like, I was like, why are you doing this to me? Like, I didn't even have the words to say, like, but she didn't cover the tip. Like, I had to have looked just fucking awkward and uncomfortable as hell. Like, and I was just like, if you want, like, if you'd like to do that. Then finally she chimed in, and I was just like, fucking please. So, like I said,
save me, Linda.
You speak up about how you didn't want to leave a tip. You do that. Like, I don't care if one person covers the bill and another person covers the tip, or if you split it 10 ways. At that point, I didn't care. Like, cool, I'd rather it all be on one check, but if that's how you're going to leave it hanging, then let other people tip for themselves, you know?
Yeah.
Like, fine, I don't care. but please never put me in that situation again. I hated that.
Yeah, I don't know how I would have handled that. I feel like in the moment, I probably would have kind of done the same, just like, but she didn't want to leave the tip. She left that up for you guys. Like, it would have been very uncomfortable.
Yeah,
But
because this is a $500 tab. If I don't
yeah,
get a tip at all, I'm paying out a good chunk of my morning tips.
at least 40 to 50 bucks.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Especially
like,
if they had oysters and they had
they had
drinks
something
and they
from
had,
every part of the, except there was no food runner on that morning.
Yeah.
You know, like I was tipping out every single person in the restaurant, save the food runner on this table. So I was
Yeah.
like, please, I have to get something. Like I have to get something out of these people.
yeah, I
Will you
feel
let
like
them know?
you telling me the story outside and being able to like process the information and think about what I would say, I feel like the best course of action probably would have been like, yeah, so Linda covered the bill today. She did, however, want to leave the tip up for you guys just so that you would be able to show your own gratitude or blah, blah, blah. I can run any card for $0. Like I feel like I could come up with something in the next 5 to 10 minutes
Sure.
that would sound really professional and nice.
Yeah,
But
I didn't have that kind
yeah,
of
I was gonna
time.
say in the moment I would have just been like, what?
I was spiraling as she
Yeah.
looks at me and I look at her and I'm like, God damn it, Linda.
Linda.
We're not friends right now.
Title of the episode, damn it, Linda.
Fucking Linda. Don't add me on Facebook.
Fuck Facebook.
I know. I just meant
No, I
because she
know.
has Facebook.
Joking. Of course she does. She gets all her misinformation.
About tipping etiquette. Yeah,
Well,
that
if restaurants could just pay their people minimum like living wages, then
Yeah,
it
I
wouldn't
would
be
love
an
that.
issue. I wouldn't. Or you could. I'd make so much less money on a living
no,
wage.
yeah. Well, no, a living wage.
Yeah, but there's no restaurant.
No,
Where
of
we
course
live
there's
right now.
where
there's
we
no
live. A
restaurant
living
giving us-
wage would absolutely be that would great. Nobody tip then. I don't care.
To be fair,
But then you're paying me $40 to $50 an hour.
Yeah.
Because I'm only working 6 hours a day. That's a living wage for where we live.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be great.
and that's
but
what
otherwise,
I make in tips.
Yeah,
is about
that's the whole point of the tippage, and I don't agree with it. We've talked about this a bunch of times.
Yeah.
I don't really like the idea that I'm counting on people to pay my bills. I don't like that.
Yeah.
But here's where we are. You know, like this has been going on for so many decades before I even joined the industry. Like, I can't help this. You know.
Have I ever told you the start of minimum? Tip. Do you know why tips became a thing in America? Have I ever talked to you about that?
I don't think so.
So,
History lesson.
History lesson.
History with Kat. We should have a little intro like boo 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 boo. Here's our history with Kat.
Fucking going
Go ahead,
to
Kat.
now. Going to now.
I want to NPR this.
Rainbow.
Yeah, NPR has all those cool fucking intros for all their things.
Yeah.
They're like, beep boop boop ba, it's book time. Here's the book of the month. And I'm just like, fuck, I love book of the month. Sorry, go ahead. Inform me.
So, apparently, this is what I've kind of researched and how I understand it, is that tipping started as it was very much. It started in Europe and it was seen as very like aristocratic, like it was very posh and
Right.
it was very upper class, like the upper class tipped people,
Sure.
right? And so very rich, wealthy Americans would go back home to Europe because it was very close to, that we were so kind of like close to the country, whatever. They would go see relatives or whatever. They would go to Europe to travel and they would see these very posh, English aristocrats and, damn near royalty tipping people. So they would, when they come back to America, they started tipping people to show off their wealth.
Right.
And then,
Just how it still kind of feels.
yes, and then slaves were freed. And the only people that would hire slaves were for the menial jobs, the jobs that nobody really wanted.
Right.
Jobs like working the railroad, jobs like service industry, waiting on tables, things like that. But white restaurant owners didn't want to pay them. So it became law that, well, people could tip them instead, and that's how they'll get paid.
Ah.
And so, as per usual, everything that sucks in our country is due to slavery. You're fucking welcome. Yeah. So it was because white restaurant owners didn't want to pay
Sure.
black people. And so
Facts.
they decided to make, tips more of a prevalent thing and would let their customers know, like, oh yeah, if you, feel so inclined, if you got great service, you can go ahead and give them a couple of cents at the time, right?
So
It was-
living off my tips was absolutely 100% living off your tips at the time.
Yes, because they weren't tipped at all. And then tipped wage became a thing. years and years later,
Sure.
and that's a whole other debacle. But yeah, so tips started as a way to not pay freed slaves in our country.
Great.
Yeah, isn't that fun? Don't you just love that?
Love to continue on that pattern. Really love that we haven't really broken out of that.
As if we've broken out a lot of things that started from white supremacy. Let's be honest with ourselves. And that was history with Kat. That's
no, I mean, like, so at first, right, you join the industry and you're like, oh, fuck, yeah, these tips are great, you know?
Yeah.
But, like, so when I worked fine dining, we had to claim a good portion of our tips. Like, we had to. And our managers would pull us aside at the end of the night, looking at our checkout to be like, you made more than that. Like, you're claiming way less, you know? You have to claim more than that. And then, you know, now it's, you know, we claim a certain percentage, and that's fine. But, I mean, I remember when I started getting tips, it was like, oh, fuck yeah, I'm getting my, you know, my paycheck and...
Yeah, because here in California, we make minimum wage plus tips.
Right.
And our minimum wage is $16 an hour now.
Right.
So it's definitely not tipped wage here in California, which is, I don't know if I could survive on that tipped wage nonsense.
Yeah, I don't think so. Like, my paychecks are small, but they are still a paycheck. They cover, you know, my car payment.
And it covers the tax on the tips, you know what I mean, that we do.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, I get taxed on my tips, so my paycheck is not, like, I've tried to explain this to my dad so many times, but it's like, yes, I make $16 an hour, but for what I claim for my tips, I'm not making $16. Like, sure, I worked all those hours, but I'm getting taxed on all the tips that I made. Yeah. So those hours are not banking anymore. They're just being taxed. Yeah. So my checks are much less.
My last paycheck was gross $650. Right. After taxes, $52.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So the paychecks don't really, and I've told my dad this before, like, I don't rely on my paychecks, you know, like, that's
nothing.
Not, I rely
extra.
on,
that's extra money.
Yeah, that's extra money that just hits my bank account, and I'm like, cool, I'm not under, you know, like, whatever. But the money that I make during the week on my tips is how I pay for everything that I pay for. Mm-hmm. So if there was a way that anybody could, as a restaurant or whatever, any other job could pay what I make in tips, or even a little under, that would be fine. If it averaged out, you know, yeah, and across the board I was making the same amount of money each day, I could see that being okay. You know, like, maybe not on the really good days or the holidays that we have, you know, like, I get that because the influx and everything else. But if my hourly could just more closely reflect a living wage, then yeah, I wouldn't fucking care. Yeah. But I mean, I've always held the opinion, at least lately, in the last, I don't know, 8 or 9 years, I've held the opinion of, like, hey, if I don't get tipped on one table, you know, if they stiff me or they tip me $2, fucking whatever, because it happens, I just count that as cool. I made my hourly that hour. Yeah. You know, at least I made $16 that hour, because the hour that I spent with that table, I didn't make any money. Yeah. You know, from them anyways. So, hey, fucking whatever. And 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, it averages out. Yeah. I get another table that's like, oh my God, you were great. Here's this. But, like, it's awkward. The whole fucking thing about tipping is awkward. I hate it. A lot of other people hate it. But also, it's just the industry. It is what it is. But I do agree that talking with tables about tipping is, that's such a huge pet peeve of mine, when people are like, how much should I tip you? Don't ask me that. Please don't do this.
Like, or how much do you want? Don't do this to me. Don't do this to me, because I'm going to tell you an even 20%, because that's how much I'm expecting. That's how much I want. Right. No part of me is ever going to be like $1 million, right, or 120, or, you know what I mean? Like, you're never going to catch me trying to make a joke about other people's money. Like, no. It's just not gonna, it's not going to be me. It's so uncomfortable, and I don't want to do it. And I've had tables do that numerous times throughout my career. Be like, well, how much do you want? And I just look at them and I go, it's just whatever you'd like to leave would be great. Yeah. That's it. Just whatever you want. And they're like, well, what would you normally make off this table? Well, I can tell you what 20% is, because I know that like the back of my fucking hand. Yeah. And if you can't factor 10, 15, 20%, ask me. That's fine. I've had people do that where they're like, hey, I'm really sorry. Can you just tell me what 18% is? And I'll be like, yeah, it's $17. Like, that's great. That's fine. That's perfect. I don't care. But don't ask me, what do you want? It's like, well, I want you to hand me $3,000 so I can not worry about the rest of my fucking month. That's what I want you to do. But you're not going to do that. Like, what do I really want? I want you to be like, oh my God, actually, I just have this stack of cash I want to leave on the table. I have this briefcase of fucking... Right. I want Mr. Beast to walk in and fucking pick me out of the crowd to pay off the next year of my life. Like, that's what I want. But that's not going to happen. So just fucking tip me whatever you want. What do you want? You know how you can tell we have kids is we're both in our mid to late 30s and know who Mr. Beast is.
Well, now he's more prevalent than ever too, because he's got a whole fucking TV show on Prime. So
Yeah, I guess that's true. There was something I wanted to talk a TikTok. I kind of forgot what the guy said, but I sent it to you, and it was definitely, I don't know if you saw it. It was that one guy that works in a small town or something, or one guy works in Miami, or it was something about a guy server, and he walks up and he goes, "Oh yeah, we're gonna have dessert. What? You're only 21 runts, right? Oh, you're not 46? Absolutely not. You're not 46." And he's like going on and on.
oh
He's
yeah,
being
where it's like
so
being
smooth.
that guy at the restaurant.
But there was something he said that I want to put in my daily lexicon, and now I can't remember because it was so fucking good. Now I'm bummed. I'm gonna have to go through our messages. Thank God they saved. I also saved our streak. You're welcome.
Oh, thank you so much.
I was really worried about that.
Well, at breakfast with my mom and my boyfriend, I was trying to explain to mom, I was like, not that I need to be looking at engagement rings for any reason whatsoever, but they came up on my TikTok a while ago. This company, or this, I think it's just a girl. It might even be a couple of people, but I know the girl's the one that runs the TikTok, and she shows even her making the rings. And they're stunning, like beautiful. They're not even, half of them aren't even diamond. They're either topaz or moissanite or fucking whatever. And they're gorgeous. Like fucking, I've been saving them like fucking, I'm shooting a couple of them to my boyfriend like, silver, not gold. Just so you know, colorful gem, colorful, pretty, no diamonds, with little snippets here and there. Yes, to bezel setting, like things like that. But I have no reason to be looking at them. But anyways, I was telling my mom, I was like, oh my God, I really want to show you how pretty these rings are. Because she made some kind of comment about like a wedding ring or whatever, right? Talking about her old wedding ring. That's how we got started talking about her. Something came up about wedding rings. And I was like, oh my God, I have to show you these things. And I went to open my phone and I was like, and both of them look at me and they're like, what? And I was like, it's saved on TikTok. And TikTok is gone now. And my mom was like, you didn't take a snapshot of it? You didn't, or a screenshot of it? You didn't
have
save
time,
it,
Mom.
You didn't save it in any way? And I was like, no! Because I didn't realize that this was a thing that was going to leave us. Little did I know that had I just opened up my TikTok, it was back already. But because TikTok left us last night and came back early this morning.
Yeah.
But I hadn't even think to open my phone and look because I just knew as of last night we had no fucking TikTok. So I was like, I can't show you. So then as soon as I got home and I got the notification that somebody's posting on TikTok again, I'm like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? How is this happening?
What's happening?
Why are you telling me this if I can't look at it? And then I open it and it's there. I immediately go to that engagement ring site on TikTok and I start shooting them off to my mom. And I'm like, look at these, look at these, look at these.
This is what I was talking about.
Look how pretty. But yeah, I also, in the days before TikTok leaving, I went through, because I save a lot of things like board games, video games, books, like things that I want to go back and eventually read or play or do or buy, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I knew that I wasn't going to have access to that. So unfortunately,
so long.
I spent 2 hours of my night 4 nights ago with a pen and paper, multiple colors of pens too, because I had like a color coordinator. I had a movies category, I had a books category, I had a games category, and I was just handwriting out, I don't know, probably 200 different things.
Yeah, you showed it to me. It was like front and back.
Yeah, front and back piece of paper that I had written all these things up because I didn't want, because I don't remember all the fucking board games that I saved from 6 months ago. Like,
yeah.
There's a couple of TikToks I follow because my boyfriend and I are into board games where they list 7 board games in one post. I don't remember any of those. I just know 2 of them sounded cool, so I saved it.
Yeah.
So then I went through and I rewatched all of my fucking saved videos so I could write all this shit down. And so when it left, I was like, well, at least I got it. At least I got that information and I saved it for myself. And I don't have like a massive fucking weird folder on my phone that I have to like shuffle through.
Your JSON file figuring out. Now you're back in your MySpace days.
And now coding just to save my TikToks. No. So I wrote it all down just to hit this moment where I realized, oh shit, I didn't save those rings. And now everything's back. And I'm like, oh, cool, it's back. And then I went, oh, fuck, it's back. I just wasted 2 hours of my life handwriting myself a pretty little piece of paper, which I can now go back to, which is great. It's easier to look at.
It is easier to
than filing through my hundreds of fucking saved posts. But
yes, and it also gives you just like, oh, we were thinking about getting a new board game. Let's just look at this piece of paper
just
instead
the board
of
games.
Instead of like going through like, oh, let's see this person's post and let me see if I can find this.
That one game I talked about that one time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is. I mean, it's useful.
Sure. Sure. My hands hurt by the end of the night.
If you say so. It's all propaganda. We're all dying. End stage capitalism. Here we go.
Nothing matters.
Nothing matters.
Nothing matters.
It's just dinner. There'll be another one tomorrow.
It's fine. Nothing matters. I'm constantly telling myself that. I'm getting mad in traffic, and then I go, it doesn't fucking matter. None of this matters. Like, I didn't get in an accident, so why am I still mad? You know?
I need to calm down. I'm an adult.
Yeah, I need to calm down. I'm an adult. I gotta cut this shit out.
On that note,
Yeah.
you want to check out?
Let's check out.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Rolling Silverware podcast. If you are enjoying the post-shift shit talk, please feel free to rate it. Tune back in next week for our shift shenanigans.